This video is sponsored by Raycon. More on them later. How do you make a game fun? That may seem like a vague platitude which to open a video, but it's a problem that games developers have been struggling with for ages, and, you know, no two people will ever experience the same game in the same way, so making a universally loved game is really hard. Why would you then decide to go through it again with minigames when there's every chance that those minigames are not fun? That's never going to end well for you. Minigames are very unnecessary. They can be a nice distraction that can break up the regular flow of gameplay if you need gameplay broken up for some reason, but I often think that they're an unnecessary opportunity for a dev team to show how focused they are on one particular style of gameplay that they now can't stray away from. Like an action game that spends a few moments solving puzzles, you can tell that the devs aren't quite as good with the minigame side of things. A truly terrible minigame which isn't optional can push even a well-meaning player to question what they're doing and why they have to do it, when there's a pretty decent video game with time and effort put into developing it waiting just around the corner. Why are we actively trying to make a game worse? Especially since I'm mainly in the market for making my life better and easier, and with my headphone wires getting tangled with alarming regularity, I'm incredibly fortunate that Raycon came into my life all those years ago and they're back again to sponsor this video. I've been using Raycon's high quality brand of premium earbuds for nearly 3 years now, and I've never felt the need to look elsewhere for alternatives since the sound quality is so crystally clear that it feels like I'm in the crowd at a concert. I usually wear them while at the gym or while cleaning around the house, and the earbuds fit so well in my ear with optimized gel tips for that perfect in-ear fit that no amount of shaking will dislodge them, which is always good. They start at half the price of other premium audio brands but sound just as good if not better than other competitors. With 8 hours of playtime and 32 hours of battery life, they can pump out a ton of music between charges so you won't be caught short without your music. If this all sounds good to you and you fancy getting your ears on Raycon's everyday earbuds that now have over 48,000 5-star reviews, there's a way to do so which also supports my channel. You can go to buyraycon.com/rabbid or click the link in the description to get 15% off your Raycon purchase. That's buyraycon.com/rabbid to get 15% off your new earbuds. Thank you again to Raycon for sponsoring this video. Alright then. How about some really shitty minigames? I kinda love how many video games out there have some form of a fishing minigame. I don't really know why so many games decided to let you go fishing during your adventures, but I suppose all you need is a body of water and an item that can interact with the waters, so yeah. Long may they continue to find their way into strange places. Unfortunately, with this incredible abundance of options, you do tend to notice the varying quality, and as much as I would love to talk about how surprisingly good the fly fishing is in Far Cry 5, sadly I must instead tackle that awkward chapter from Sonic's history where Sonic Adventure decided to have multiple playable characters who all go through detailed campaigns that play to their unique strengths, and that means that Big the Cat's gotta go fishing! It's not the only thing he does during his story, but honest to God, it's the only thing that I remember, and I do not remember it fondly. Froggy is a punk-ass bitch! Can you call it fishing when you're not looking to catch fish and actually something far more slippery and more annoying? Well, at any rate, frogging with Big the Cat is only really a part of Sonic Adventure since fishing minigames were all the rage, and Sega was so convinced that there was a market for this that they made Sega Bass Fishing, complete with a dedicated controller that probably makes it easier to play. So Sega had fishing on the mind and fancied continuing this momentum with Big the Cat's story in Sonic Adventure, where you need to rescue your froggy friend from a pond and try not to launch your Dreamcast through the nearest window in the process. Armed with your trusty frogging rod, you've got a fair amount of control over how to maneuver Big the Cat so you can approach Froggy from the right angle, but the issue isn't getting into the right position, it's catching the fucking thing. I don't really know what stuff is being calculated behind the scenes as you're waving your lure in front of Froggy, desperately hoping that he'll latch onto it and end this ordeal, but Froggy's AI is so sporadic and inconsistent that it feels like a luck-based minigame, which in a single-player game, don't? It feels like a microcosm of the worst parts of Sonic Adventure where a level isn't quite working properly, and I'm more surprised than anything when it does what is intended. As an introduction to a new character, this is also maybe the worst way to endear someone to Big the Cat, and I'm so happy that I know him from other games, because if this was my first time seeing Big, I'd be put off giant purple cats for life. Thank God I'm not put off fishing in video games, there's still so much more to see. I think Big the Cat is a sign of Sega's ambition with Sonic Adventure, where a well-made game starring Sonic and maybe Tails isn't enough, because we clearly have to have 6 different stories with 6 characters who play mostly very differently, but eventually something has to give, and there's every chance that one of those characters ends up playing absolutely terribly, and that's the case with Big the Cat. Feel like they should have spent more time on less campaigns that they just make really, really good. Does say a lot that they haven't done the multiple campaigns thing in ages. Minigames attempting to justify their own existence are always a little bit hilarious. There has to be a reason why the standard flow of gameplay is grinding to a halt to allow you a chance to play an inferior form of entertainment, but it must be done in order to conquer a specific obstacle that requires different skills. I'd love to talk about all of those hacking minigames where accessing doors and computer terminals can't be done by shooting the fuck out of them, since the disparity between those two types of gameplay couldn't be more extreme, but if you want to start thinking along those lines, then we need to dive a bit deeper, past the Reaper Leviathans and the volatile city of Rapture and into a far scarier location. Kingdom Hearts 2 follows in the footsteps of the first game by coming back to Atlantica to hang out with the cast of The Little Mermaid, but this time around you're going to be doing a hell of a lot of rhythmic button presses. Ah yes, Kingdom Hearts, that famous Guitar Hero clone. Excellent indeed. I fucking hate this, and I need everyone to come with me on this one, because while this whole sequence is a bit more than just one brief minigame, the change-up in gameplay style is so abrupt and so unnecessary that it functions like a lengthy minigame break. It's clearly very experimental, and of all the areas of musical potential, the one with a crab who conducts his fish orchestra is probably the best move. However, this isn't generally a good move because we're abandoning Kingdom Hearts 2's really well-refined combat for some less refined timed button presses that the game isn't really built to house. It's about an hour of lots of story, none of which has anything to do with Kingdom Hearts and is just a retelling of The Little Mermaid, and the rest is quick-time event cutscenes set to music which feels super underwhelming compared to the rest of Kingdom Hearts 2. And Under the Sea is a fucking dope song, but now all I can hear in my head are the sound effects when you get an excellent. Why is Ariel singing so high at the end? What are we doing, guys? What even is this franchise? It probably concerns me more if a minigame has more effort put into it, because it either implies to me that the dev team had a ton of free time, or they've put more effort into a minigame than they should have put into the regular game that people have actually spent money on. You know, it is after all a mini game, it's a small part of a larger picture, and I would like the larger picture to have a little bit more focus. You know, oh, the story's not great and could have done with more work, but at least we've got blitzball. I think there was a period in my life where I really liked blitzball from Final Fantasy X, but don't worry, I've come to my senses and would much rather read the Wikipedia page for dowels. Oh hey, you can cut dowel by rotating a piece of oversized stock past a fixed knife, or by rotating the knife around the stock. That's so interesting. Please don't make me talk about blitzball, I'm so happy here. Alright, so blitzball is the ultimate backyard baseball that has twice the curves and twice the distance up. No, hang on, I'm looking at more exciting stuff again. Oh shit, that guy threw it through 2 moving vehicles, that's so cool! Anyway, Final Fantasy X's blitzball is significantly less exciting than awesome trick shots and wood, but I've made my bed by deciding to make this video, so I guess we need to talk about it now. Blitzball is an irritating bit of world building that ballooned wildly out of control. I know why it's here, because the game designers wanted a slice of culture to help make the world feel more lived in and realistic, but at no point while designing Blitzball did the devs focus on creating the kind of minigame that people would want to come back to again and again. There's clearly effort here, but for an in-universe pastime that is trying to draw parallels with football or rugby, there's way too many random chants for it to be enjoyable. Things just kinda happen in Blitzball, and considering how it's mandatory to play some games at some point in Final Fantasy X, it becomes this pointless waste of time trying to inject a layer of strategy into something that just isn't capable of having any.
Trouble is that I've heard that some people do enjoy blitzball, and I'm wondering if that's a follow-through from how they feel about Final Fantasy X in general. Like, they fall in love with the characters and their relationships, and so they decide that this game can do no wrong when it really can. Some have even asked for a standalone blitzball game, and frankly, I can't think of many things worse than that. Gwent, this is not. With minigames being an afterthought most of the time, it can sometimes be incredibly obvious which games had even less thought put into them when compared to others. I don't mind so much as long as the main game doesn't fall by the wayside, but the first No More Heroes requires you to earn money between main assassin missions in order to pay for the privilege of slicing a man's head off. I don't want to out myself as a proponent of the criminal underworld, but I don't think that's how that works. I have to pay out over 500,000 LBs to even go on the final mission? That's definitely not how that works. Anyway, you need to earn the money somehow, and that's where the side missions come in, where you're actually paid for your skills as an assassin. But since there's only so many people who need to die, you also need to work some side jobs, and because Suda51 is a cruel man, these mini-games generally play like shit. Most of them don't even give you a lot of money, so you have to go back to them time and time again to grind up enough money to go to the next level. That on its own is enough for the average player to develop a pretty bad relationship with these minigames, but this is compounded so much by the Scorpion Extermination minigame. I was just thinking that the only thing missing from this game was fucking scorpions.
A large amount of No More Heroes 1 isn't designed very well, and it's hard to tell how much of this is deliberately done by Suda51, or just deliberately not given much attention in favour of the hacky slashiness, which is clearly what Suda51 wanted to create, and everything else is kind of an afterthought. But damn, that Scorpion Extermination minigame is really bad to the point where I feel like someone's upset Suda at some point, and honestly, I'm sorry for them. Does that help? Is it going to make the minigame better? It doesn't.
Scorpion Extermination is a side job that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. It comes at a point where your expectations of these side jobs is justifiably rock bottom, and yet somehow this minigame pushes them even lower as you're tasked with gathering up scorpions for money. The one blessing is that it's a mercifully simple minigame to understand since all you're doing is picking up scorpions, but scorpions have spicy tails that inject sadness into your veins, and so, yeah. This is a minigame that suffers greatly from the size of the field you're playing in, because one sting from a scorpion has you running off to this one guy who will jab you in the butt and cure you of your poison. Which is okay in theory, but it does require the upgrade that lets you sprint, because otherwise you're gonna get stabbed with no hope of making it back for the cure. Or you get desperately unlucky and tangle with the giant blue scorpion and die instantly because life is hard and exterminating scorpions is clearly much harder. You get 3,000 LBs per scorpion, which is good money if you get lucky, but I would not count on it. Just leave the spiky boys alone. You cannot make a video about minigames without talking about Mario Party. These games have been going on for too long and have been too wildly varied in quality for me to somehow skip over a vast catalogue of minigames, some of which are truly shocking snippets of gameplay. I suppose the silver lining is that you'll likely have friends dragged along for the ride and you can experience some of these awful minigames with a friend, or at least someone who was a friend at the start of all of this. I'd argue that anyone who invites their friends to play Mario Party 1 and experience some of the honestly terrible minigames, they shouldn't be too shocked if they suddenly find themselves short on friends. If you play a round of Mario Party and have Tug of War turn up enough times, your social life won't be the only thing with a hole in it. Like, obviously, this is the worst minigame ever put into a video game. It's not even a contest. Everything else I've talked about has been designed badly or sloppily implemented, but Tug of War and really any minigame in Mario Party 1 that has you spinning the control stick as fast as possible are designed so poorly that it legitimately hurts to play. The original idea was for players to rotate the N64 control stick with their thumb, but as soon as you find out that using the palm of your hand instead is much faster, and practically required to stand a chance against AI on the hardest difficulty, I hope you brought gloves. It's no coincidence at all that the Mario parties that followed after this moved away from control stick spinning, since they had to hand out gloves to the families of kids who trashed their hands, and I'm sorry, but no minigame should be doing that. Hilariously, despite avoiding any minigame like this for so many years after, Tug of War wound up making it into Mario Party Superstars, virtually unchanged mechanically apart from a small note on the side that warns against using the palm of your hand to rotate the control stick on your Joy-Con. It's incredible to me that this piece of history was retained, since it's not like those old racist cartoons that open with a disclaimer about how this stuff needs preserving so that we can learn from outdated views. It's just a dumb minigame that hurt people in the past and probably broke Joy-Cons in the present. You're telling me that you couldn't find any other minigame in Mario Party 1 that could have gone here instead? I think you just wanted Mario Party to cause physical pain again. It's more authentic that way.
Mario Party minigames are always a bit of a strange concept, since they're breaking up some of the luck-based torture with a different form of torture, and if Tug of War and its variants are good at that, then that's good. But I can't actively endorse a game hurting its players. I can't do that. This is RabbidLuigi, and if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more in the future, and if you want to watch something right now, there's a video here where I rank all the Dark Souls and the Soulsborne games. I also want to thank my top supporters on Patreon, including Sarah Mallion, The Green Scorpion, and Christopher Robinson. Thank you for watching, and Mario Party will always take its pound of flesh.